Now, as you all know, North Korea for the last few weeks has rarely left the headlines. It's an absolutely extraordinary story. Kim Jong-nam, the eldest son of Kim Jong-il, apparently assassinated at an airport in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, as he was apparently waiting for a flight to Macau. Now, the story is not over, not by a long shot. Mr. Kim's body has just arrived in Pyongyang last week, a city in a country that many of us still know very little about. Now, to help us shed some light on North Korea, the situation there, and the situation that was there when she was still living there, is our speaker, Yeonmi Park, who was born in North Korea, who has an absolutely extraordinary personal story of her own to share with us today. She grew up in Haisan, in the central part of North Korea, with her family. After her father was arrested, that led the family to make a very difficult choice. Yeongmi's mother is here, right here, in the yellow jumper. She led the family on a very difficult journey out of the country and into a very different life. So without further ado, I would like to invite Yeonmi to the stage to tell you her story herself. Round of applause for her, please.
Okay, good afternoon. Oh, I'm very nervous because I'm very honored to be here today. I guess we do know about North Korea because there's a news about it every day, especially these days. But during my talk, I want to talk about something else that you don't actually get to hear much in the news. When I came to the West, a few things shocked me. One, when I saw people in America, like everyone looked the same to me. That was a bit shocking. It's like, how do I know they are different people? And the second thing, shocking, was to me, dear leader was my life, everything, and he was a god. But in the West, he was a joke. That everyone very busy making fun of his haircut and his fatness. That was shocking. What a world I am in. When I was in North Korea, I was very afraid that I believed my dear leader could read my mind. So I was not even free to think. But in this world, people can make fun of him. And the other thing I learned was that a lot of people knew about North Korea, but not about the people. Most of the people knew about politics and nuclear missile tests that North Korea do every day. And even now, I believe what we see on the news is about politics. It's not about human beings. So, 10 years ago, I escaped from my country. It's called the Hermit Kingdom, North Korea. And the life that I had there is very different. Sometimes people ask me, could you describe what life was like being in North Korea? And unfortunately, I can't. It's not describable. It's not what human language can do to describe what's happening in North Korea right now. I lived in the country's northern part of Haesan. I had one sister and I had my mother, very loving mother, and I had a father. People disappeared for many things that we didn't understand, and people were sent to prison, and we were not allowed to live even in the country. I never knew what the passport was. I only knew a few countries in the world. I knew American bastards, I knew Japanese imperialists, I knew China, and maybe perhaps that was it. I never heard about the world internet. I never saw satellites photos of North Korea in the world. I didn't know what Africa was. I did not even know we had many different races in this world. I didn't even know what black people were, what Latinos were, what white people were. But I had the posters of Americans in school, and usually Americans were with blue eyes and big nose, and we learned they were bastards. And in the school, I learned like this. My school teacher asked me, there are 4 American bastards, and you killed 2 of them. Then how many American bastards left to kill? At a young age, I said 2 American bastards. And I didn't have toys. I didn't even have this 24 hours electricity. Instead of have toys, I made a snowman. With the snowman, I made a big nose. And with my friends, I had a big hot pocket, like a hot water, boiling water, and I put on the snowman. And I sang like, hooray, American bastards are gone. I didn't know what that was, and I didn't even know I was oppressed. We didn't have a word for it. When I was in North Korea, we didn't have a lot of words. I'm sure if you have read George Orwell's book 1984, it talks about the language. We don't have words for liberty, human rights, love, oppression, stress, any of these words. How can you ever be depressed in the socialist paradise? So they don't give us the word to express how we feel. I did not know what happiness was. What is it? They didn't know. They didn't tell us that we have to be happy to live this life. My dear leader only taught us that our existence is being a revolutionary to our socialist paradise. I never allowed to describe myself with the word I. It was always we. I said, we love kimchi. We love red color because it was a revolutionary color. I was never learned. No one taught me what I thought mattered, and no one told me I could decide anything for myself. Growing up, I learned the government told me what to wear, what to sing, what to watch. It's almost a joke now. People in North Korea sent to prison camps for watching a movie. I remember a few years ago, there's a movie came out called The Interview. It's the movie making fun of the dictator in North Korea. And people keep asking me, what do you think about the movie? Do you think it's funny? Honestly, I did see the movie when the day was very available on the first day. And my English was not that good, so I didn't understand the most of the joke. But it really made me think, why does that matter? Why does it matter if the movie was funny or not, or even good or not? What matters to me is that we have freedom to watch that movie in this country and not get killed. And what is different for North Korean people, they are not allowed to watch that movie. And if they watch it, they will be executed. And that's what it hurts me, that we lost what's important in this world. People asking me different wrong questions. Why the money, like the movie is so important for us, the quality of the movie. Without having a freedom of watching a movie freely, in 2007, we couldn't bear to alive in North Korea. My father was sent to prison for his black market business. Here when I say black market, it's a not drug trading company, it's not drug trading trade. He sold metals to China to survive. And that was illegal because trade is not allowed in socialist system. And he was sent to prison, and my status in the society went down. My mother was interrogated, and I had to live with my sister when I was 8 years old. I never experienced what public distribution system was, because when I was born, Soviet Union already collapsed, because I was born 1993, and there's no food coming from government. So people dying from starvation. And I had to go to mountains, eating grasshoppers and dragonflies. That's how I survived. But even that time, I didn't blame my dear leader. I thought I was perfectly in the greatest country in the nation, in the universe, and I was still worshiping my dear leader to protect us from our enemies, American bastards. In 2007, at the age of 16, my sister escaped with her friend. And some people ask me, are you upset that your sister left and not care about you guys? Of course I'm not. She couldn't survive. So she left. I wanted to go with her, but one day I was very sick. I went to hospital, and they didn't have machines to see what was wrong in my stomach. The doctor said, just pressed a few times, and he said, you have appendix. On the very same day, without painkiller, he opened my stomach. Turned out, it was not appendix. It was malnutrition and infection. But he removed my appendix anyway, so I'm planning to sue him when I'm going back. He closed it back. I remember I was screaming and fainting out during this operation. I came out, but in the hospital, we used 1 needle to inject to everyone. We use beer bottle as a drop. In that hospital, people don't die from disease, they die from infection. On the way to the bathroom outside, there was a pile of human bodies, dead bodies, and you see rats coming out of them. People are hungry, so we eat those rats again, and we die from infection, and they eat us back. That's why in North Korea, spring is not season of revival, it's season of death. After seeing it, I had no hope of surviving in North Korea anymore. I had to do anything. And I decided to escape. But escaping from North Korea was not like I was deciding it and I had a smartphone to see where I'm going. I had no idea. It was like in the room where there's a fire. If I don't jump off, I would die. And that's what I did. In 2007, just 10 years ago, in March 31st, I held my mother's hand, and I found a broker that sent my sister to China. And then I told her I want to go to China. She was willing to help us. I didn't ask why. When I went there, we climbed a few mountains because we cannot just cross the river because there's every 100 yards there's guns with the soldiers. They ready to shoot anyone who crosses the border. But this broker bribed some guard, and the guard were willing to send us to China. We went across that frozen Yalu River to China with my mother and with one more person who sent us there. When I got there, the first thing I saw was my mother being raped. We don't have sex education in North Korea. We don't have love stories. We only have propaganda. So until that moment, I did not know what kiss was. I never seen anything like that in my entire life. And I lost my faith in humanity. That broker wanted me, but my mother offered herself, and she was raped instead of me. But that was not only it. These people told us that you guys are going to be catched by the Chinese authority. They catch you and send you back to North Korea. So if you want to live in China, you have to be sold. What do you mean you sell human beings? And they said that's the only way we can survive in China. You all know that there's a one-child policy in China. It was a big news, but we never talked about the victims of that policy. Because of that one-child policy in China, in the rural areas, the men who had disability, mental issues, all those kind of issues, they could not find wives. Those men needed wives. That's why they bought us. My mother sold for $75 from the first place in 2007. My price was higher because I was a virgin and I was younger. My price was over $200. And it was almost shocking to me. I'm eating a food that costs as much as that amount. My one dinner cost my mother's price. I was separated from my mother because we both slaves, we could not go together. She was sold for a farmer, and I was sold to another broker, human trafficker. Somehow, he liked me, and he said, if I become his mistress, he was gonna buy mother, and he was gonna bring my father from North Korea. And I thought I was gonna kill myself, and if I sacrifice myself, I can see my family again. And I stopped being a child. I became his mistress for almost 2 years. And he did keep his promise. He brought my mother and he brought my father. But my father had a colon cancer from the prison camp in North Korea. So he died right before Beijing Olympic in 2008. I buried his ashes in the middle of a mountain without funeral. And I thought, this is not the life that humans should live. I'm gonna do something else. Even if I die, I'm gonna do something else. And I met a lady, a North Korean defector lady. She told me, there is a way I can go to South Korea and I will be free. That was the first time I heard the word called free. So I asked her, what do you mean I will be free? What does that mean? And she said, you can wear jeans and you can watch movies, and no one is gonna arrest you for that. So for me, freedom was wearing jeans, not freedom of speech or all of things that I have right now. And by being rescued, my price was another thing, believing in God. There was missionaries in China were helping North Korean defectors, but the price was believing in God. They said, if I take the Jesus as my savior, they were going to let us know how to go to South Korea. I don't know. It was out of desperation or I was faking too hard. No matter what that was, I became unbelievable believer of God. I believed every word in Bible. I wrote down the verses. And I proved my faith to the Christians. And they said, it's time you can go to South Korea. And there was walking across the frozen Gobi Desert with one compass. In 2009, end of February, with 5 people in our team, we had this one compass in our hand, and we went to Inner Mongolia in China. From there, we only had to walk. We walked across the Gobi Desert. Later, we couldn't use a compass because in the middle of the desert, if you use a flashlight to see where you are, the soldiers gonna discover us. So I looked up the sky, and there was a very bright northern star. And that's how we saved. We followed the northern star. When we got there, Mongolian soldiers did save us. A few months later, I flew to South Korea, and I was 15 years old. And it was 2 years of journey. Now, after going through all of this, I feel like I lived 1,000 years time, almost. In South Korea, definitely I learned a lot of great things. Of course, I learned what internet was, what Facebook is, and now I'm using Instagram. I'm like millennial generation, what you call. And I'm in college in New York right now. And I try to be normal as much as possible. But I will never be normal because I'm from different universe. I'm here today, even though I know I might get killed by Kim Jong-un because I'm on his target list since 2 years ago. Even though people are very cynical these days, but I believe human rights should be something that we care about. The people in North Korea are being forgotten for 70 years. I'm not even asking you to do something, just let's feed them. Why is that so hard? We have technology to go to the moon. We have technology to do anything now. But why not North Korea? Why doesn't anyone do anything about North Korea. Why it's just a joke or something just too far away that it doesn't matter to us. Only recently, I went to Auschwitz in Poland, and I was thinking, this is happening again. And why people saying this is not happening? Why we are repeating history again? And I bet you, when North Korea opens up, you will cry and you will say, you did wrong. You ignored it too long. So just go on Google and watch it. You can see on the satellite with these concentration camps. And right now, in this very moment, girls like me are being sold in China as wives and sex slaves. You have great education, and I heard this is a very prestigious group. I don't even know what that means. But I know you are very smart. You have a lot of resources. I hope we hear about these human stories on the news, not about missile tests. Of course, they are all very important. But I really want to see one day human life is all equal and is valued, like our lives here and like our freedom. And you came here to hear my story this afternoon, this beautiful day, and hearing this dark story. So I'm very grateful that you took your time to come here and hear what I had to say. And thank you so much, everyone. I'm so sorry, it was really, really depressing. I cannot believe I ruined your afternoon here. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yourself and your affiliation. Thank you.
Hi, Yeonmi. Robin
Hi.
Meredith is my name. I really enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you very much.
But what I'd like to know, at the end, you called on us to take action.
Mm-hmm.
What are the possible actions that you see that would actually help the people of North Korea?
Yes. Thank you so much for your question. There are three big things that we can do. There are NGOs underground who's rescuing defectors in China. So if we support those NGOs, those people actually rescuing people from China to America or South Korea. So literally North Korean people can be saved. And the second thing is you can speak up against China. They cannot treat human lives this way. The most difficult thing that I face right now is two things. The special interest group. One, the people who has interest to do business in China. They don't want to offend them. So when we negotiate deals with China, trade policy, anything, we all trade with China, every country do. They don't talk about this because they want to have economic relationship with them. So that's why human rights is not in this conversation. That's why China can get away from it. So I hope you write about it, and we just don't talk about the one China policy, that how that affected economically to China, but how that affected to North Korean women right now. And so many women in China, there are so many witnesses and survivors from this. And the third, there are groups underground who's sending information to North Korea. So a lot of people do ask me, like, why you didn't rise up? Why you're not upset about what you're going through in North Korea? And I say, if you don't know you are a slave, how do you know? How do you know how to upset? People in North Korea, they don't know what they deserve. They don't know the life can be this way. The life can be free like this. That is why it's very important to let North Korean people to know what they can have and what they deserve, basically. So there are a lot of NGOs smuggling thumb drives, DVD leaflets through black market, through Chinese border, and that is why a lot of young people in North Korea now have some access to outside information, and we have to make it amplify, and more people should know about what's happening outside the world and learn that Kim Jong-un is not a god. And I think that's how we can do three different things: rescuing, raising awareness, speak against Chinese regime now, and third, getting information. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Anyone on the veranda? Yes, the gentleman on the veranda.
Thank you very much for your frank and shocking words.
Thank you very much.
How do you think younger South Koreans understand and care about the situation in North Korea?
Thank you. It's unfortunate I only can speak for my experience. I don't think this experience represents whole story right now. But what I experienced is that South Korean people, young people, do afraid of the cost of reunification. They think they have to pay a lot of taxes to free their neighbors. And also second of all, they just think now it's two different countries. They don't fear the same people anymore. And I guess they are very thinking about their own future, so they don't even try to learn what's happening to their cousins up north. So it's a very depressing situation among the people, at least. That's what I saw and that's what I experienced. Thank you.
Gentleman.
Ed Chin, commentator and convener of 2047 Hong Kong Monitor. Ms. Park, I know that you are now studying at Columbia University.
Yes.
Right? Can you give us your experience in the U.S.? And congrats, I know you recently got married.
Thank
and then,
you.
to a Russian gentleman, right?
No, American bastard.
Okay.
He's real American. He's from
Okay.
Connecticut.
Okay. So
Yeah.
doing these different tours, how do you benefit spiritually, mentally, and how can you deliver a positive message to North Korea? And like someone who were trying to come here today, they didn't really agree with what you say 100%. They say Korea might not be that bad. Actually, as a high school student who deliver milk powder every year, and then he goes to North Korea and visit the orphanage, might not really reflect the same thing that you described in the book. But
Right.
could you just maybe kindly comment on that? Thank you.
Yes. So first thing in my life in New York, it's very surprising because in America, a lot of people really don't know what's North and South. So, and some people who do know North Korean, they don't really think it's possible someone come from North Korea. So, instance in class, I say, "Hi, I'm from North Korea. My name is Yeonmi Park," and they think I'm from North Carolina. So they don't really think I'm from North Korea. But still, a lot of people think they don't really know the difference between North and South. So they think just Korea is K-pop country. So a lot to do in America. But I am enjoying being there. It's very open-minded people. The second question is, yes, I'm married to an American bastard. So miracle is possible. Who knew I was hating American bastards so much and I'm married to the one. So that's why I believe in hope. And the third one is that some people had different experiences, you say, right? And some people who went to actually North Korea and saw a lot of great things too. I think that's very accurate observation because I am very certain my life is not gonna be the same with what Kim Jong-un is having. No. So there are a lot of people in North Korea for sure had a very different experience than I have. So I don't think my story can speak for 25 millions of North Koreans. But my story can speak for the few people, maybe majority of people in the countryside who didn't have good status and who never knew what passport was, who never had access to what Kim Jong-un is having or those elite people have. Only one concern that I have is that as far as I know, when tourists can go to North Korea, they are not just allowed to just move around, go to hike by yourself like when you travel in America or Canada. So what you people see is very controlled. And only one thing that I want to say is like what you see there is not going to be everything about North Korea. So as if it's true that my life cannot be equivalent to Kim Jong-un's life, and there's some lives gonna be better off, and some life is gonna be very miserable. But about these concentration camps, or a lot of human trafficking experiences, there are a lot of studies, and the United Nations has a COI report on this human rights violation. It's almost I don't know, why should I have said that North Korea is the most human rights violating country? Because you just cannot go there. If they don't have anything to hide, as journalists, as who you are, you should have right to go there and see everything, but I'm sure you can't do that. So I don't think I need to argue with the people who think North Korea is a free and amazing country. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
The lady in grey.
Hi,
Hi.
Juhee In from PwC.
Thank
Um,
you.
Thank you for your very incredibly inspiring story. I'd just like to add, as a South Korean, it's my
Oh.
first time meeting a North Korean. So again, it's really a pleasure to be, an honor to be in your presence. A
Thank
question
you.
I had was, what can you tell us about North Koreans' perception right now of the assassination in Malaysia of Kim Jong-un? Because that's what the media feeds to the rest of the world.
Right.
So we'd love if you know or if you can share what their insights or are they surprised or anything that you can share for our education.
So you mean the North Korean defectors,
Uh,
or is the North Koreans inside North Korea?
Either or both. Any.
So when we talk about North Korean defectors, it's very scary time right now because a lot of my defector fellows, they cancel their speaking tours and their activism at the moment. So I believe the one of the counsel in London who escaped, that he canceled his American tour after the assassination. So, and a lot of my friends are so very scared, and to the point almost the friends, they have friends and they posted photos on the Facebook and they ask them to delete photos of them because they don't want to even look like associated with any North Korean defector anymore. So this did impact heavily on defectors, dissidents, but there are still a lot of them keep speaking out and being brave enough to take the risk. And the people in North Korea, I'm sure those elites knows what exactly happened, but what the news telling North Korean people is that they didn't kill its own half brother, but the Americans killed Kim Jong-nam and put all the rumors on North Korea. So in North Korea, every Olympics, every World Cups, we win. We don't see that we never learn, we lose. So the news, everything is heavily controlled. We don't have magazines, we don't have news. We have one newspaper, and that only the elite people read, and even that is not accurate information. So people like me in the bottom, I don't think they will know the truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Park. We
Thank
do of
you.
China News Asia have two questions.
Uh-huh.
The first question is a lot of defectors talked about how they faced a lot of integration problems. So once they
Right.
got to South Korea, either it had been prejudice or discrimination. Can you talk a little bit about what do you think is the biggest misunderstanding the outside world has about the North Korean people? And the other question is you were taught in school that Americans were bastards. What were you taught about the Chinese? How is China seen in North Korea?
Yeah.
I suppose I'm really asking how much leverage does the Chinese government actually have on the North Korean government?
Thank you for your question. So there's two parts. What North Koreans think of Chinese, and the second is why North Korean defectors having hard time after they escape.
Do you think the world, to an extent, misunderstand the people of North Korea? The people, not the government.
So I think just one thing is that when you see all those parades of people in North Korea or people like crying when the dear leader died, we think of them very differently. And a lot of times the media inhumanize North Koreans. That is why we don't have this kind of compassion for slaves in North Korea. They are really slaves. I think the problem is when I was in South Korea, so you are the first time, or in even America, the thing shocks me is whenever I meet people and I tell them I'm from North Korea, and the first thing they tell me is like, oh my God, you look just like me. And then we don't know that we look just like each other. That we forgot people in North Korea is just like exactly like each other. And just, they are so unfortunate being born in North Korea, and that's what they did. And that's why they are having this insanely different life. And we don't even know when they are going to be like us. So I think that changing that perception, we are all the same, we are all human beings, that is the main thing that we need to do, so people can feel the same human emotions for North Korean people. And the second thing why nursing defectors is having hard time, even myself, I had a really hard time. I guess like it's just practically education gap. You know, in South Korea, kids go to kindergarten, like elementary school, they learn about the history. We don't have history in North Korea. We learn Kim Il-sung like found North Korea. We learn like he does miracles. So we don't have those practical education in North Korea. And the second thing is that we don't know what individuality means. So in North Korea, when I was in South Korea, it was very easy to learn how to use toilet and how to order a coffee, or maybe how to memorizing what Canada is, what like Africa is. But it was very hard to understand what does it mean be like freedom. And now I understand it as a responsibility. But in the beginning, it was so scary that why I had to be responsible for the choice that I make, because the whole my life I never had to make any decision, even the clothes that I was wearing, or even the haircut that I was having. The government have the policy for like how much nail that you can have, how much hair that you can grow, what pants you can wear. Everything was decided by the government, and it sounds really scary that I had to be responsible for my choices. And also like understand why does it matter what I think. To learn what my favorite color was, it took a very long time. And to understand what I like, it takes a lot of time now. So I think these kind of things is very hard. It cannot be just achieved one day by just crashing course education gap. And also, you know, there are a lot of the factors escape, and they have relatives back in North Korea. So they have to send the money back to them. So they really have to work hard, and they don't have to study and invest in them. So the economic gap is very big. And the third question you asked is North Korea is very emotional dictatorship. He's very emotional, so they do change the story very often. They were very consistently hating America and Japan, but their opinion of China has been changed. Also Russia too. When Soviet Union collapsed, they thought they were not, you know, good socialists, like revolutionaries, because they changed their mind and they started to criticize them. And also China too, sometimes they do show some movies of Mao Zedong's son who died in the Korean War. Is that right? And they did teach us that we are like a neighboring country, but sometimes they hate Chinese and stop like letting us like learning about China. So it just persuades by their emotion, I think, stage. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Park, I have been seeing your videos on YouTube, and I also read your articles, you see.
Oh, I see.
And really very touching experience which brought me here to hear personally from you.
Thank you.
What I observed is that wherever you have gone, you have always claimed one thing, that you are feeling very nervous now also.
Yeah.
But please, don't feel nervous, because there are so many people who are with you and they are ready to do anything that you want us to do, you see. So please give up your that nervousness. That's my just advice to you, because everybody has different experience in life. Now, and my question is that, you see, usually what we read, that the security agencies from North Korea, they don't allow people to survive. They shoot them or punish them when they talk against them. Have you ever been threatened like that, you see, being in America, or you have been traveling now? And do you take care of all these things, you see? So my question is that, what is your experience? And please, never feel nervous, because there are many people with you, and they would do anything for you. And you look so beautiful when you smile, not when tears are in your eyes.
Thank
So
you very much.
please, just follow what I told you and reply to my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you so much for giving me the encouragement. I just never learned what it meant to be being in public. I get criticisms a lot, and it's very new thing for me. It's a very, I guess I should not, I think in that way I always remind myself I should never be westernized, get nervous about this stuff and get affected by these things. So thank you for your question about your security question, right? When I spoke out 2 years ago for the first time, and I was starting to writing book, my memoir, and North Korea released books, several series of videos on YouTube, and using my relatives back in North Korea, and try to stop me speaking up. So I don't even know what happened to my relatives now. And of course, though I get a lot of warnings from South Korean intelligence agency, even in this trip, they do try to send a lot of emails to hack my account, or sending emails to meet me or something. So I hope they stop it. But I guess it's I could have been killed many times before, so I almost take this life as something, plus life. And I don't really try to be affected by that. And I really hope, even if I'm gone, that we remember the people of North Korea, and that we remember North Korea is not about politics. So that's my hope. Okay, thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you all have a good afternoon. I'm so sorry. It's late.
Is the lady in the back?
Oh, really? Oh, yes.
The mic coming to you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today, Yeonmi.
Thank you.
It's hard to imagine what you have been through. My name is Grace Brown. I'm a freelance journalist based in Mongolia,
Wow.
contributing to the Associated Press, BBC sometimes, and Channel News Asia sometimes. I wanted to actually ask you some questions about Mongolia. If you can cast your mind back to when you arrived, what was it like when you met the Mongolian soldiers? Do you remember which part of the country you entered through? And do you remember much about your time in Ulaanbaatar? And how did you get out? Was it through the South Korean embassy? Did you meet church groups, Korean groups in Mongolia? Any information that you could give, I'd be extremely grateful, as I'm very interested in this story, and I would like to follow it up when I'm back in Mongolia. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. When I crossed the desert, by that time it was almost not a lot of people were doing it. I think now I believe no one is actually going to Mongolia and being escaped. When I entered Mongolia, I don't remember exactly where I was, because I was just following the compass and the star layer. When I got there, the first thing the soldiers did with a gun and asked me to put my hands up. And I remember I was like, you put my hands up, and they were saying, where are you going, where are you going? And I said, South Korea, South Korea. And unfortunately, they were not very helping. They said, no, you are going back to China. And they put all of us in the car and then took us to Chinese base in that desert. And in that desert, we were ready to die. We knew if we go to China, they were going to send us to North Korea. And that means because we were trying to escape to South Korea, that means only one public execution or forever imprisonment in the concentration camp. But even that, no one survives forever in the concentration camps. So I never wanted to go that far. So I wanted to kill myself before that was happening. So we brought like lasers and poisons with us, and we threatened them like, it's the same thing that if I don't die, I will get killed anyway. So if you wanna send us back, we are all gonna die right here. And they took us seriously, and then they took us to some military base, and then later to Ulaanbaatar. But the following team who crossed the desert, they were very lucky. The soldiers threatened them again that they were going to send these people to China. And there was one of my mother's friend, and she did swallow the poison. But later, I think, so they do like, I don't think they really understand a lot of things like that. But somehow they did take us to Ulaanbaatar few months, I think. And the South Korean thing constantly came to us every week and verified if we were actually North Korean or not. Because some of Korean ethnic Chinese tried to pretend to be like North Korean and try to get the South Korean citizenship. So we had to go through investigation in Mongolia. And then they brought us some fake passports with the wrong names. With that passport, we escaped from the Mongolian airport, and we got on a plane to Incheon airport. So I don't even remember what my name was, but it was fake passport, and they took that back right after we arrived in Mongolia and in South Korea.
And that's all described in your book, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is all in the book.
All the details are there. Yeah.
Right.
The book is actually for sale both in English and Chinese, just around the corner. But we'll have time for 2 more questions before we wrap. Yes, the lady on the veranda.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think you are amazing.
Thank you very much.
Now, question I have is you've been brainwashed. You know, you don't know a lot of words. You don't know how the outside world was like. And then your sister is the first one who escaped. And then you and your mother and so on.
Followed, yes.
How do you know there is an outside world, actually? How did your sister know it's an outside world, that she wants to escape? What happened? Thank you.
Thank you. We didn't know. I never knew the world was this big. What we knew was the lights from China at night. So at night, we didn't have electricity, but there were electricity lights coming from China's side. And that's all we knew. We saw the lights at night, and then we thought, maybe they have their life there, maybe they have food for us to eat. And that is why my sister took the chance to go to China, and that was being human trafficked. And us too. We didn't ask, but we knew if you go to China, we might have something to eat. And that's how we crossed that frozen river. And only recently I'm discovering how the world is working and how big this is. So back then we really had no idea. Thank you.
One last question. Yes, the lady in the blue. Or black.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. You're a very brave girl, and really God bless you. My son went to North Korea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just for a week, and he was actually shown a very different picture from what you've told us. Happy kids, and you know, he saw your Olympics as well. I mean, of course, he could make out a lot of disparity, and it's a very different country. But what you've told me shocked me so much. And I just want to ask you, thanks to social media, you'll be able to tell your story to the world. I mean, it's everybody knows about your story. But how you're going to bring the awareness in North Korea? How many people know about this propaganda, or they talk about it to some extent in North Korea? Or they don't even know that they're manipulated.
Yeah. Oh, have you ever seen the movie called The Truman Show? as any one of you. It's like that. No one knows. I don't know who told me the truth. I don't know actually inside they're questioning, but they were not telling me, or actually they really believed. I was not even telling the truth to anyone. I was even lying to myself. How can I know? So it's very hard question to answer. I don't know exactly how many people in North Korea are aware that they are brainwashed. But what I know is how much information is getting in. And the recent statistics says, it can change stats always, but I think 73% people have the media access. And they watch it and just some sort of photo media. I did watch a lot of Jackie Chan's movie when I was in North Korea. I saw some Disney movie. I know. I thought Hong Kong was gonna be that Jackie Chan's country, but it's completely different. My mom is also disappointed why Jackie Chan is not here. But so a lot of people do have access to this kind of information, but only the problem now is that they don't know how to make a sense out of it. And it took a very while for me to make a sense out of all the information that I had as well. Even I was being outside the country, it took a very while for me to even learn how to be upset for what the dictators did to me and did to my family. So I don't know what it cost and when it will be the day North Korean people aware that their life was taken away by the dictator and they will fight until they die for their freedom. But it's very hopeful at the moment because that the world is aware now. We realize this dictator is not a joke. He's a serious threat to whole humanity. And if this dictator can kill its own half brother, can you imagine what he's gonna do to his own people? And I hope that we think about that side as well. So thank you so much for your question, everyone. And thank you so much for taking your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Yeonmi. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your remarkable story.